We're going to be talking about something serious today. We're going to talk about anxiety. It's going to be in the context of life, maybe music. Who knows? We don't.
What do you want to say about anxiety?
It's real. People get anxious. Well, first of all, there's like musical anxiety. If you're going to perform on stage or something, you get nervous and you freak out, or you have some kind of expectations, and or you don't do as well as you hope that you would. And to all of that, I would say, pish posh.
Pish posh?
Pish posh. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
No big deal. Stuff like that just comes and goes, and
I think it's actually healthy. If you don't feel nervous before a show, then there's something wrong with you.
no.
I think it's a natural human response, because you want to do well, and the fact that you feel nervous just means that you care.
No, not necessarily.
No?
No. I don't get anxious for shows anymore. Like, it's a rare occasion.
Really?
Yes.
You told me you were anxious the day we did the Blended Festival.
Yes, of course.
Surprisingly, I was not anxious that day. That was one of the very few times when I was not anxious.
Well, does that mean you don't care?
That's a fair point. No, of course I care, but I feel like, I don't know, I felt so at home, and I was like, this is what I was born to do, to sing to a huge crowd like that, to be doing my own music, and with my best friend on stage. It was great.
Yeah.
I loved it.
But I'm sure before, maybe when it wasn't on the show date, but before that, you had some periods where you were a bit nervous
Absolutely,
about it.
yeah. Because you never know how it's going to go.
You never know, especially in Kuwait, you never know if it's going to go through, because shows very commonly get cancelled or postponed or something.
That doesn't really bother me. We're going to talk about censorship in another episode, in a future episode, so I'm not going to get into that just yet. But I feel like when it comes to musical performance anxiety, I feel like the smaller number of people who are attending the show, the more nervous I get. It's a weird thing in my mind that happens, where I think if there's, let's say, 1,000 people, and there's a better chance that you're going to win over more people than less people. Like, if there's 2 people, you got a 50-50 chance of them either liking you, hating you, or half and half.
Yeah.
But when it's a bigger crowd, I feel like people are there to have fun. The energy is different. The approach is different. But I learned to control my nervousness, and I learned certain things about myself. So I usually become short of breath, and that's why I usually start my shows with loose control, because I always I do the verse, and I have like a what's it called, like a call and response kind of thing. As soon as I finish, I saw you in the crowd, baby, I'm like nervous, and I take that moment to literally swallow my saliva and like reset my throat, and then I'm like, what was the second lyric? I felt my nerves unravel in a way I never knew. Now that you think about it, these lyrics are pretty ironic. Like, the start of the show, and I'm feeling my nerves unravel. But yeah, that's what I do. Like, I choose songs that I know are gonna give me a break in the beginning, and then I'm okay. And I think you mentioned something about flow state earlier. Like, I think right after the first couple of songs, I'm an autopilot. I'm doing what I love, and I'm like in the moment, and I'm feeling it, and I'm energized, and it all goes well.
That's the ideal state to be in.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the anxiety comes from overthinking things. You're kind of stuck in your head, and maybe you're in some kind of loop, or you're playing different scenarios of how things can go wrong, or things like that. And I heard an interesting quote not too long ago, that thought is the enemy of flow.
Absolutely.
So the best thing for any of these kinds of situations is not to think.
This is what I was telling you before. Remember when we were writing the lyrics for Katana, and you felt a little stuck. You're like, I can't think of a line for here. And I was like, Adel, stop thinking. Just write down everything you're feeling, or whatever comes to you, and then later on just arrange it.
Well, I mean, what I try to do in Katana is have some kind of a story or a statement.
Yeah.
I'm not just kind of using it to write about my feelings or something like that. So it needs to be kind of curated in a way that's sensible, interesting, and maybe somewhat artistic. And for that, you need to kind of focus on details. And I get caught up in these details and kind of get stuck and stagnated. And that's why the Katana album is so long overdue.
It is pretty long overdue, but I feel like your album was like the first step, and then I think mine is going to be next, and then Bedr's is going to be the one after that, and then the Katana album is going to come out. I mean, that's the succession that I see in my head. Who knows? They might all come out at the same time.
I hope so. I hope we all just go like that next week, and bam, we got 10 new albums, or 4.
4. But that's pretty cool. Like collectively, we have 4 albums coming out, and like we've all been involved in each other's work.
Yeah. But
not to the extent that we were involved with the Katana album. I mean, Bedr and I were heavily involved with my album. You and I I didn't have anything to do with your album, but we did like go back and forth. I gave you some comments and suggestions, and we worked on a music video together with Katana. We're all there together, the 3 of us. Bedr has not recruited me for his album, but I know he recruited you for a solo on one of the songs.
Yes, but he's kind of a predominantly lone wolf.
Yes,
when he works.
Yeah,
like he just locks himself in the studio and then comes out like.
Going back to anxiety, one of the things that I learned from Eckhart Tolle, which his book is right there behind me. I don't know if you guys can see. It's right there. A New Earth is my favorite book of all time, and in that book he says that the source of all suffering is our concept of time. And I think by being anxious about something that's going to happen in the future, like a performance or something that you really care about and you're worried about the outcome of that thing, or what the outcome of that thing is going to be, the suffering comes because you're not living in the present, you're living in the future, and you can't really predict what's going to happen. So just focus on now. That moment is not here yet. When it comes here, you'll deal with it. You need to prepare for it, of course, but prepare, do your work, and stop thinking about it. As soon as you're done, you're ready, that's it, let go. And when the moment is ready, all of that preparation is going to come out naturally, and you'll be okay. Because the truth of the matter is, I think no matter how much you prepare, if something goes wrong in the moment, it's going to go wrong, and there's really not much you can do about it except laugh it off. Especially when it comes to performance, because you can always just stop in the middle of a performance and speak to the audience and make a joke about it, and I feel that creates kind of like a connection with the audience, and they'll always remember that moment when you kind of talk to them and you were kind of vulnerable because you were in this situation that was not so great, and they got to witness that.
I mean, in this particular context, I think a much more necessary skill is not so much whether you're prepared for something, it's how you recover when things go wrong. And this is something that takes a little bit of practice to do as well.
Yeah.
So you can get away with something that seems catastrophic to you at the moment and make it seem like it was something natural. In jazz, when they improvise, there are no wrong notes. It's just you play a wrong note and then you repeat it, and it becomes a theme and it becomes an idea. It's true. So you have to kind of learn how to recover. I've screwed up so many times in concerts that like recovery has become a specialty of mine. Anxiety in music is just one facet. There is general anxiety, which I've had some trouble with. And almost everybody I know has experienced this in some shape or another, and to varying degrees. And maybe what Eckhart Tolle, wherever he is, I don't read his books.
You should.
I don't think I'd like him. I don't like preachy kind of.
He's not preachy at all. What are you talking about? Have you read the book?
No.
Then you can't judge.
I looked at the cover and it looks pretty preachy.
How is this preachy?
Look at that color. Look at that.
It's orange and yellow. It's a gradient. It's soothing.
And it needs to justify itself to you. The 6 million copy worldwide bestseller.
That's not him. They got to do this.
Create a better life? Really?
Yes. This book changed my life. Really did.
Actually, I did read The Power of Now. It was pretty good.
Power of Now is good, but A New Earth is so much better. To me, at least personally. Like, I benefit. But here's the thing. I read this one before I read The Power of Now. So, and there's a lot of things that are in The Power of Now that are mentioned here. So I feel like I got the gist of The Power of Now before actually reading it. And then once I was done with this, I went back to The Power of Now. I was like a little underwhelmed. It's a great book, don't get me wrong. But this...
You were saying that he says that anxiety is symptomatic, is a symptom of you not being
present.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree with that. You were saying you're in the future.
Yes. Or the past.
Or the past. That's
Yeah.
the addendum that I wanted to make.
Yeah.
And which again kind of goes back to this idea of flow state, being present in the moment, being kind of entranced in whatever you're doing with the purpose that you have, which is a short or perhaps medium or long-term goal that you're trying to achieve, to where you don't have time to just stand and reflect on things that maybe don't warrant so much reflection. So, I mean, these are all pretty words. It's not going to help anybody with anxiety.
Well, it could. It really could. And you'll never know if it could help you unless you expose yourself to this or other books like this one. But I think this one is the best one. And it truly has changed my life. And it's shifted my thinking in a way that no other book was able to do. So...
Were you anxious before?
Not anxious, but I was in a state of mind that was quite self-destructive. And it really helped me. The thing I want to say about anxiety and past and present and future, there was something I wanted to say, but now I'm having a brain fart. I was going to say something. So what I think one of the things that really gives people anxiety is the lack of, purpose, or thinking that, what is my purpose here? What is my purpose on earth? And they feel lost without that specific purpose. And what Eckhart says in his book is that your purpose is whatever you're doing right now. Because you are living now. And whatever you're doing, you should devote your full attention to so that you do your best at it. So right now, my purpose is to engage with you fully and be completely present with you to do this video. That is my purpose. What my purpose is going to be in the next moment, I don't know. And I shouldn't care because I'm living now. What is the point of worrying about something that's going to happen in the future if your life ends right now? There's no point.
Well, you don't anticipate your life ending now.
No, but a lot of people have that anxiety.
Of their life ending now?
Yes. Not now, like at some point. And of course it's going to happen, it's inevitable.
Yeah.
But it's just, just making peace with that fact.
Yeah.
And in the book he says nobody really dies. So there is no such thing as death. And I truly believe that as well.
What happens after the physical body is...
Yes, the physical body dies, but your consciousness stays alive.
Where?
It returns to the source.
Which is?
Which is the energy that connects all of us, all living creatures. People, animals, plants.
Is it in the same state that it was during life?
Obviously not, because it was, it was consciousness expressing itself through form. And that form is mortal. So it's done, and then it's going to express itself through another form.
So I fancy myself a funny guy. Am I going to be a funny consciousness in the after dimension? Or am I just going to
be
a...
I think funny is a concept of the brain. Like animals don't perceive funny. Animals don't perceive jokes. And that's the thing.
My cats do.
And that's the thing. Funny is a mental thing. It's a thing that's generated in the brain.
So if everything is generated in the brain, we are a product of...
We are presence. Okay, so consciousness is the gaps between thoughts. So like right now, if what are you thinking? You're listening to what I'm saying and you're thinking about it. But if you're on your own, your brain just pumps out thought all the time. It's like your heart beats. Like you don't say, oh, I make my heart beat. No, it just beats on its own. And it's the same thing with your digestive system. You go to sleep after eating something, your digestive system is always working. There's an intelligence that runs all of this. And by that same purpose or by that same concept, your brain just pumps out thought all the time. You don't think those things. And that is the separation over there. So you are the consciousness that is running this human body, including the brain. And your brain is pumping out thoughts, but you are not your thoughts because you're not really thinking them. You are the consciousness that is observing the thoughts. So if you try to, if you want to be conscious, if you want to be present, the best way that Eckhart suggests to do that is to breathe and focus on your breathing, because when you're focusing on your breath, your brain stops thinking. And it's those gaps between thoughts that you become present and you feel your consciousness.
I have trouble distinguishing between the two.
Okay, read the book, give it a shot, and if the book speaks to you, then you are ready for this transformation, and your consciousness is becoming conscious of itself. If you don't understand it, then perhaps you're not ready. But here's the funny thing.
That's how they get you, huh?
No, that's not how they get you. The funny thing is, not the funny thing, the thing that he says in the book is that if you are watching this video and I'm talking about this book and I'm talking about consciousness, then your consciousness, which is part of the collective consciousness, has, been directed to understand these concepts. So if you're watching this video and you're learning about a new earth, I think this is a sign that you should read this book, or at least watch a few Eckhart Tolle videos on YouTube. That's free. There's no money being made there, but you can learn about all of this.
Unless his videos are monetized.
They're not monetized. And even if they are, he's not going to make a whole lot of money off of YouTube.
Really?
Yes, really.
Sold 6 million copies of this book worldwide.
10 years ago. And he sold 6 million copies because it's a revolutionary book. How did this turn into a New Earth video?
This turned into an Eckhart Tolle cashing in on our anxiety video.
I love him.
Beware these cult leaders.
He's not a cult leader.
They will take your insecurities and use them against you.
Okay, last note on this book. Do you know how he came up with this book?
I want to know.
So he was super depressed and he was thinking of ending his life. And for the longest time, he was telling himself, I can't live with myself any longer. I can't live with myself any longer. And it was in one moment that he thought, if I can't live with myself any longer, then there's a duality in there. So who is the myself that I can no longer live with? So there's two of him. One of him is the brain that pumps out the thoughts. The other him is the actual consciousness. And he says that he just woke up one day and all of his worries just faded away and he was living this feeling of enormous peace and serenity. So,
well,
yeah.
I've been thinking about this as of recent. Again, related to this whole flow state idea. But I still don't have a separation between what the conscious is and what the brain that is doing all these things is.
Your brain is a tool. Your consciousness is like the battery that is running your body.
What does it do other than power me?
It's the collective consciousness expressing itself through form. You are that form. You're part of that form.
Does it have any opinions on any matters?
No. I think it's a concept that is beyond comprehension for human beings. We can't fathom what the purpose of this consciousness is, just like, some bacteria on this part of your hand. It can't fathom that it's living on a whole creature that is living on a planet that is part of a universe. Bacteria is not gonna realize that. And I feel it's the same thing for us. We can't realize in this universe, we can't comprehend.
So does bacteria have consciousness?
Yes, of course. Every living thing has consciousness in it. But the difference is, our form allows us to recognize that consciousness. That's the difference. Because we have thought. But animals and plants are living and they're run by that consciousness. So they're running on autopilot, just like your inner intelligence is running the rest of your body, except for your brain. That's how animals are run. So because they have no thought, even their own brains are run by consciousness. It's a complicated concept, I know, but trust me, once you read the book, you're going to get it. Listen, even if you learn one thing from this book, I say if you're going to spend money on anything, I'd rather it be a book than a drink or a movie or... Actually, you learn stuff from movies, but...
Spend it on our albums, spend it on our music.
Sure, that too.
Our music will do a lot more for you than...
Actually, my new album, my upcoming album, has a lot of topics that are, inspired by this book. So...
Save money on the book, buy Omar's album.
Sure, why not?
What I will say
is
I will take you up on the offer. I will take the book from you. I will read it. And then we can come back and I'll state my opinions on what I think about this.
Great.
And whether there's value or if it's not just a money-making scheme.
You got a deal. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you guys think of A New Earth if you've read it and if any of what we talked about made any sense to you.
Book. Anxiety.
Or Anxiety, the book, whatever. Just give us your comments. We always enjoy reading them. We will see you next time.